Okay, so get this. Today's deep dive, it all starts with, well, a desk. A used desk, actually.
Not exactly the usual treasure chest for groundbreaking discoveries, right?
You got that right.
Right.
But someone found a whole bunch of documents tucked away in this desk. And it gets weirder because these documents, they're all about the Esrange Space Center in Sweden.
Esrange, yeah, I know it. Way up north above the Arctic Circle, they launch satellites, do atmospheric research, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But these documents, they suggest something else is happening at Esrange. Something a bit more, let's just say, out there.
Definitely straying from the usual scientific endeavors.
You could say that again. We're talking potential conspiracy theory territory here, folks.
Oh, like full-blown alien encounter kind of conspiracy.
Yay! That's putting it mildly. We've got technical reports, sonar measurements, maps of the Esrange area, all hinting at something truly strange.
And I'm guessing these weren't just tucked in a drawer, like someone went to some lengths to hide them.
Oh yeah, it's like they wanted this found. But the real kicker is this letter, a multi-part letter, handwritten, claiming to be from an Esrange employee.
Okay, now that's intriguing. And this employee, they're claiming aliens landed at Esrange.
Basically. And buckle up, because they lay out this whole elaborate story. It's like something out of the X-Files, honestly.
Even the intro to these documents, was it like a confession? A warning? What made you think conspiracy?
It was the way it was worded, almost like a plea for someone to uncover the truth. You know, classic, if I disappear, they found me kind of vibe.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that would set the stage for a good conspiracy theory.
Exactly. And trust me, this story doesn't disappoint. Now, full disclosure, we're not here to say any of this is true, but it's a wild ride, and I think there's something to be learned from picking it apart.
I'm all for a good deep dive. So, what's the headline here? What's the big secret this Esrange employee felt compelled to reveal to the world?
Get ready for this. The letter claims that Esrange is a cover-up for something huge. They're saying there's a whole colony of extraterrestrial beings hidden beneath the Space Center.
Wow, okay, going straight for the jugular with that one. And what? They just stumbled upon this colony.
Well, according to the letter, it all started back in 1946. Remember those ghost rocket sightings over Sweden? People were seeing these weird cigar-shaped things flying around. Nobody knew what they were.
Right, I remember reading about those.
Yeah.
A lot of speculation at the time, but nothing ever confirmed.
Exactly. And get this, the letter claims those ghost rockets were alien probes. And some of them, they didn't just fly away, they supposedly crashed in lakes around Sweden.
So they're tying this alleged alien colony to a real-world mystery. Classic conspiracy theory move.
Right. They take these unexplained events and use them as building blocks for their narrative. And it gets better. The letter claims that Swedish military and scientists were brought in to investigate these crashes. They even had a special ghost rocket committee.
A ghost rocket committee? You can't make this stuff up.
I know, right? It sounds too good to be true. And of course, the letter says the Swedish government went to great lengths to cover the whole thing up. They claim the news was censored and any information about the crashes was deemed top secret.
Adding that layer of secrecy just makes it all the more enticing, like, they don't want us to know.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning. The story gets even wilder from here, believe it or not. So we've got these ghost rockets potentially crashing into lakes all over Sweden. What happens next in this supposed cover-up?
Well, according to our letter-writing friend, the story takes another turn in 1947. Rings a bell.
1947. Wait a minute. Are they about to drag Roswell into this?
Bingo. They link the Roswell crash directly to the events at Esrange.
Okay, hold on. I know conspiracy theories love to connect the dots, but that's quite a leap. Are they saying the Roswell crash was also one of these ghost rockets?
That's exactly what they're implying. They claim that Roswell wasn't just some random crash. It was a probe sent by these same extraterrestrials, and it was meant to land Esrange. You guessed it, Esrange.
Of course. It all leads back to Esrange. But why? Why Sweden? Why all the secrecy? Why not just land in the middle of Times Square and get it over with?
Well, if we're to believe the letter, they weren't exactly planning a meet and greet. They say this was just reconnaissance, scoping out the place, gathering data.
Yeah.
You know, the usual alien stuff.
Right. So these probes crash, the Swedish government gets involved, they realize it's aliens, and then what? They just let them build a colony under what would eventually become Esrange.
Hold your horses. We're not there yet. This is where another player enters the scene. The letter mentions a top-secret organization called Omega.
Omega. Sounds ominous.
Definitely. And according to the letter, this Omega group was formed in secret by President Truman himself.
Truman, as in President Harry S. Truman. The buck stops here, Truman.
The one and only. They claim Truman created Omega to deal with this whole extraterrestrial situation. And things get even more interesting as we move into the 1960s. Remember the Telstar satellite?
Vaguely. Early communications satellite, right. Big deal for its time.
Right, launched in 1962. Now, the letter claims that Telstar wasn't just about making phone calls. They're saying Omega secretly used it to, wait for it, spy on the alien colony at Esrange.
Okay, now that's just sneaky. So what, they're saying the U.S. government was spying on these aliens with a communications satellite?
That's the gist of it, yes. They say Omega picked up some unusual signals coming from the area and decided to investigate further. And how do you get a closer look at a suspected alien colony? Well, you build a space center right on top of it, of course.
Talk about hiding in plain sight.
Right. And that, my friend, brings us to the founding of Esrange in 1964.
Wow, so they're claiming Esrange was never really about space exploration. It was all a front to monitor these aliens. That's a lot to unpack. Okay, so we left off with this mysterious Omega group secretly using a satellite to spy on a suspected alien colony beneath Esrange. I have to ask, what exactly did they find? Did Telstar actually manage to get any intel on these supposed aliens?
Well, that part gets a little murky, even for a conspiracy theory. The letter doesn't go into specifics about what, if anything, Omega discovered, but it does say they were particularly interested in one area of the colony. The letter calls it Zone A. Apparently, there was a lot of unusual activity concentrated around there, strange energy readings, that kind of thing.
Zone A, huh? So what is it? Like some kind of alien reactor core, their version of Central Command?
Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. The letter doesn't elaborate much. But here's where things take a turn for the really strange, even unsettling. Remember how the letter mentioned this employee, James, who mysteriously disappeared?
Yeah, it was like something straight out of an X-Files episode. Vanished without a trace.
Right. Well, the letter claims James was last seen near Zone A. Apparently, he was recording data near what they believe was a central antenna of some kind when he just vanished. Poof. Gone.
Okay, that's creepy. But if this was some kind of alien tech mishap, you'd think there would be some evidence, right? I mean, even the letter said they found his clothes.
Exactly. And this is where our letter writer introduces the most outlandish element of all. Time travel.
Time travel? Seriously? As if a hidden alien colony wasn't enough.
I know, right? It's a bit of a leap, even for a good conspiracy theory.
So what are they claiming? That James got zapped into the future, abducted by a UFO. What happened?
Okay, so the letter mentions a pattern they noticed. Every time there was a surge of UFO activity over Esrange, there was a corresponding spike in seismic readings.
Seismic readings? Like earthquakes?
Exactly. But here's the catch. The seismic spikes weren't simultaneous with the UFO sightings. They were off by a precise amount of time. 575 days in the future, almost 2 years.
2 years? So what, they're saying these UFOs were causing earthquakes 2 years into the future? How does that even work?
That's the million-dollar question. The letter doesn't exactly offer a scientific explanation, but they suggest it has something to do with the aliens' ability to manipulate time. They even use the phrase temporal slipstream at one point.
A temporal slipstream. Now, they're just showing off, but what does this have to do with James?
Well, according to the letter writer, James wasn't just abducted. He was accidentally thrown forward in time.
Thrown forward in time? By accident?
That's their theory. They believe when the central antenna in Zone A activated, it created some kind of temporal distortion, and James, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, got swept up in it.
So he's potentially stranded 2 years in our future because of some kind of alien time machine mishap. That's a lot to process.
It certainly is. We've got a secret alien colony, a covert government agency, possible time travel. It's like someone dumped a whole season of the X-Files into this one story.
And the story ends there, with James lost in time. No resolution, no answers.
None whatsoever. The letter just ends abruptly after that. It's like they wanted to leave us hanging, wondering.
Well, they've definitely succeeded in that. I have to say, this whole thing has been a wild ride. We started with a mysterious desk and ended up down a rabbit hole of alien encounters, government conspiracies, and even time travel. What an incredible story.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About what might be lurking just beyond our perception, about the secrets governments keep, about the very nature of reality itself.
Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the strange world of conspiracy theories. It just goes to show sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones we can't quite explain. Until next time, keep exploring and never be afraid to ask questions.